Across the Serpent Spine Mountains to the east lies Haless, the largest continent on Halan. It is a land marked by the convergence of its geography and its history. It's a land dominated by towering temples that were left by the precursor civilization, focal points for its various religions. But it is also a land that is alive. The spirits of nature and of people long dead are able to influence everything from the day-to-day lives of its people to the fate of its empires. While the region's civilization arose in the plains of the Upper Karanyana and Yanhi rivers, the most important event that shaped the entire region was just after the Day of Ashen Skies. A people of ascendant tigers appeared in southern Rahen and quickly conquered the region. Led by Harimar the Great, their conquests continued until they reached all over Haless. They brought with them a new religion, a philosophy that emerged from old Raheni practices, and a fascination with the high temples of Haless and their supposed high gods. This high philosophy dominated the urban regions of Rahen and Yanshen and carried with it the imperial hierarchy. Though Harimar disappeared into the Great Temple in Tianlu, this hierarchy remained in some form in both Rahen and Yanshen until Jahur invaded from Bulwa in 1038 and shook up the region. The Phoenix Empire covered the old Harimari hierarchies of Rahen and Yanshen until it fractured in 1126 with his assassination in Tianlu. Afterwards, his son Jerail tried to hold together his empire, but it wouldn't last long. His death in 1138 marked the end of this brief period of consolidation and plunged Haless back into a period of warlords. In Rahen, just across the border from Sahal, the tiger-like Harimari have formed a mighty yet disunited Raj, stretching from the Serpent Spine in the north and the Gulf of Rahen in the south. This land is rich in natural resources, and were one to unite the Raj, they would be immensely wealthy and powerful. To the north of the Raj, and a threat that none in Haless can ignore, is the Command. The warlike hobgoblins rose up not too long ago. Disciplined and ruthless, they washed over the northern ruined kingdoms of Shamakad and defeated all that opposed them. They now prepare their next conquests in the lands of Zianji and further into Rahen. It would take a very determined foe to stand against this tide of violence. To the east of the Command, in the Demon Hills, lay the ancient kingdom of the Oni, Azkara, said to predate even the precursor elves of old. They maintain an uneasy peace with the Command, trading their magics in exchange for a truce. Although they have remained isolationist for millennia, a change has been brewing, and the ogres may soon look outward. Beyond the Demon Hills lay the lands of Yanshen, a region of various warlord states. Between the eunuch states that rose up after the fall of the Harimaj lies the merchant republic of Baekdugang, one of the few nations to not look towards their Yan neighbours to exploit, but to the seas beyond. In the middle of the Yanshen lies the League of Yanzhen, an alliance of city-states, including the secretive city of Yinshen, said to have spies that reach all across the continent. To the south of Yanshen, across the Fokao Range, is South Haless. To the very southern tip lies the nation of Orokalin, a remnant state of the Phoenix Empire originally serving as a port from which Jaher fueled his conquest of Yanshen. They now consist of Kalino, a mixed people who absorb the best of each culture that inhabits their land, taking influence from both the Sun Elves, Yan, the local Yanglam pagans, as well as perhaps the Kenorians in the distant future. To their north is the nation of Honsai, a state that formed from civil war in Baihonjing. The previous emperor has managed to cling to his realm by sheer willpower, ruling from his palace as a ghost, seeking to unite his realm once more. As a result, they start in a civil war that may just determine the fate of all Kai. Sarasung is the largest city in Haless by metric of population. It is located on the east bank of the Karanyana in the region of Zianji. It is one of the porcelain cities, and its politics are dominated by the local gangs who fight for control amongst each other of the various districts of the city. Zianji rests between the holy Mount Tokayasa, the mighty river Karanyana, the towering Fokao Range, and the forbidding Demon Hills. It sits between Rahen, Yanshen, and southern Haless, and so has been marked by and left its mark on all three of them. The people of Zianji are among the most zealous followers of the righteous path in all Haless, and for centuries they have been organized under the Xiaken, the great martial temples nestled in its valleys, shrouded in its jungles, are perched atop its mountains, which oversee the care and organization of Zianji's people. None are more sacred than that of the Xiaidao, the point of balance within the universe, which lies at the heart of Zianji, and indeed all of Haless. It is certain that, in the coming years, the people of Haless's desire for independence and their desire for peace will meet with terrible hostility. In the inevitable conflict, we must unite or be drowned in blood. Hidarian Tonanzuir, speaking to his troops before the Battle of Lektonmai, 1441. Standing resolute against the rumbling powers at their borders, the Kai townships have always been a picture of provincial simplicity. Their stalwart republican traditions and fearsome guerrilla tactics have guaranteed independence since the death of Jerael, the last great unifier of Haless, and the collapse of the Eastern Phoenix Empire. Since its collapse, they have yet to rise to any real importance in regional politics, instead acting as a series of buffer states between the Com Empire to the south and the Jia to their north. Unlike many of their neighbours, the Kai harboured no particular animosity towards the elves left in the wake of the Phoenix Empire's hasty retreat from Haless, instead integrating them into their republics. The largest of these fledgling communities is in Azkara's own Citadel of the Dawn, an old Jahirian stronghold still occupied by the descendants of his soldiers, and it's from this stock of elves that an unlikely figure would rise to become Lord of Azkare. In 1438, Hidarian Tonanzuir, a sunrise elf who had faithfully served several generations of Azkara lords, was elected as Lord of Azkare, the smallest of the 4 townships. An elf of unending ambition, he began to reform nearly every aspect of the state, culminating in 1441 when the newly formed Shining Lancers, a legion of elite elven cavalry tracing their roots back to Jaher's legion, soundly defeated the combined arms of Kau El-Nak and Lo Ngoen in the Battle of Lektonmai. Hidarian's ambition did not end on that battlefield. He returns home to Azkara with renewed fervour, dreaming of unity. With the Com to the south in the midst of a brutal civil war, which transcends the boundaries of mortality, and the Jia to the north threatened by a renewed push from the Hobgoblin command, there has been no better time for resurgent elven rule. Will Azkara remain a final footnote in the history of elven rule on the continent, or will they blossom anew to build a final, peaceful Halessi empire?